Hey guys, this is David, and I'm kind of the biggest, well, maybe not the biggest geek in the world, but I think I rank right up there. And I'm always excited by kind of reading new information, how to make the whole nutritional piece of what we do more effective. It's and one of the challenges I think that so many people have is that we look at exercise and nutrition, and we see how they kind of support each other, but I don't think we understand the degree at which nutrition plays the role. In fact, nutrition really is everything, especially long term. As I tell all my clients, of course, exercise is simply a form of stress. It does nothing other than set the body up for the possibility of developing muscle endurance, mitochondria, better neurotransmission, much more fine-tuned neural processes. And I've been following this nutrigenomist, and she's young and she's exciting, she's hip, and I'm trying to engage her in some dialogue. I'm a part of her patron, which means I pay a subscription to a site that she has, and it's just a few dollars a month, but just so that I'm in her field of vision, and I'll try to introduce her to some of the research that we have on our scientific advisory board. But one thing I was reading the other day, and I found this fascinating, and this is actually research is being done at the Salk Institute in La Jolla, California. And it was actually this doctor was looking at circadian rhythm, and he realized, or they started to see that our organs have their own circadian rhythm. So it's not just the 24-hour clock that we operate on globally as an organism in response to the sun, to the light and the dark of our days, but this was actually the fascinating thing that they came up with was that they discovered that our stomach, our guts actually produce melatonin, and we normally think of melatonin being produced in the brain in response to the change in light. So as light becomes less, melatonin secretion becomes greater, and of course setting us up for hopefully for rest, But looking at why is melatonin secreted in the belly? Why is it secreted in our guts? And the fascinating thing is they found that our pancreas actually has melatonin receptors. In fact, a lot of type 2 diabetics, they'll find that the pancreas has a lot of melatonin receptors, which means they're extremely inefficient at using insulin in darker periods of time. So imagine that, and I live in a northern climate, so our winters, which are long, as the light becomes less and less and less, as we work in these artificial environments, which really don't have enough light to really stimulate the body to pull it wide awake, quite often what will happen is that melatonin is secreting almost consistently in these darker environments, just because of the low light. And the challenge is, of course, if melatonin is being secreted in the gut and it's being uptaken by the pancreas, what does that do to insulin secretion? Well, actually diminishes it or almost eliminates it entirely and supports the secretion of glucagon. So I find that kind of pretty cool, which leads to the other part of the conversation is that these eating windows of opportunity. And of course, this doctor I'm following, she's very, very pro intermittent fasting and looks at all the amazing things that occur with fasting. And it's just extraordinary, like absolutely extraordinary. I will fast probably on a weekly basis for the rest of my life. It's just amazing what happens. Certainly the fountain of youth, I think, for sure. But one of the interesting things is that when they looked at eating windows of opportunity, and when they're, of course, testing this on their lab rats, when they operated within a 12-hour window, so from the time I have my first meal when I first wake up, I have 12 hours to consume all the calories I need. So ideally, I'm going to eat 12 hours on, 12 hours off, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So on a daily basis, I'm actually put into to a mild state of fasting every single day. So, so let's say it takes 6 to 8 hours to completely utilize all the glucose my body has stored. So I still have anywhere from a 6 to 4 hour window of being in a fasted state, which is great because there's a whole process. I think they call it autophagy, where my body actually goes after. My cells, the broken down cells actually start to eat themselves. Right, the kind of self-consumption of some of these older cells, and that's why growth hormone spikes so much. It's not to build muscle necessarily. The growth hormone levels spike. Yes, it does protect muscle tissue, but the secondary notion is that it also goes through and stimulates the cellular machinery to reproduce itself. right? So all the broken down bits and pieces get chewed up and eaten up in the fray, and then rebuild these beautiful, healthy new satellite cells and start repairing all this stuff. So there's a 12-hour window, which is extraordinary, and they're finding that even these lab rats eating a pretty poor diet, they're feeding them their chow, but also with corn syrup and lard. So really give them a lot of junky calories. They were still losing weight from eating the 12 and 12. Now, if you want to take it one step further, there's an 8-hour window, and they find if you can consume all the calories necessary, all the nutrition necessary within this 8-hour window, there's an increase in mitochondrial proliferation, which means the little power cells inside of our cells that actually is where we combust fat. There's an increase in those, so an overall increase in endurance, and of course an increase in fat loss, but not an increase in muscle loss. So I'm playing around with the 12-hour window. I'm not sure about the 8-hour window for me at this point, but it's fascinating. So in lower levels of light, of course, melatonin levels become greater, and our ability to process and consume carbohydrates or sugars efficiently becomes less. And so my diet is presently more ketotic and more paleo than anything else, and I only have my actual total calories from carbohydrates only around 20%, with fat being 40% and protein being the other 40%. So I find that works really well for me. It keeps my head very, very clear, my energy level stable. As soon as I bring my sugar levels up too high, even with the healthiest of sugars, my body does not like it at all. So anyhow, just some interesting stuff I thought I'd pass along. I find it fascinating. You may not, but I had to tell somebody, right? And it's because it's, as athletes, we're always looking for a way to take it to another level. How do we get leaner? How do we help our clients get leaner? Then I think if you're looking at these eating windows of opportunity, I think the 8 and 12-hour windows. 12-hour window for sure is probably probably a really great way for those people struggling with those last couple pounds to get those pounds off, because they may have this polymorphism, which means they have a hypersensitivity to insulin, and their pancreas may have quite a few more melatonin receptors than the average person. So anyhow, just some stuff to think about, and go research and have fun with it. Bye.